great channel, want to share, do if you wish, that's okay. So, in one of the lowest times of my journey here in the last few years of learning and spiritualism and blah blah blah, because a person literally physically broke themselves, I fell and hurt my back and had to rebuild like a spine. not in a way like I've seen other people having to do it, so bless their friggin' hearts and souls, because mine was just like the tip of the iceberg, tiniest, but it was enough to make a person go, sit up and notice, because that was not a good time. So rebuilding oneself physically and spiritually. So in some of the darker times, I found it was really hard to tap into the awareness of gratitude, because everything was just so heavy. The guilt, the shame, the anger, the sadness, all the deep, heavy shadow work emotions. It was so hard to tap into love and gratitude and compassion and understanding, because things were just heavy and purging out, and you close down, and so your awareness closes down. And you don't notice things. So say you were like at a loved one passed away, and you were mourning them at a funeral, like you're going through your process, and it's a lovely day, like sun shining kind of lovely day, but you don't notice like the warm sun and the light breeze or what have you, because we're so focused on the grief in that space, right? And that can go for anything, like a breakup or a hurt self. Grief shows up in very many spaces, and we all express it differently. So, and sometimes we can get stuck there. So I found when I was stuck in places of grief and wanted to pull some joy, figure that out, I made a gratitude jar, and that's what I wanted to share about, was this gratitude jar. And I was just reminded of it not long ago, and I had a friend today, spent the morning with a beautiful human in a really hard place, and was just reminded about maybe one should make another gratitude jar. So at that time, and at this time, what a person would do is find a vessel of sorts. Mine was like this big wooden bowl with sand in it. And that was my gratitude jar. It wasn't a jar, but whatever. That's what I called it. And I would put so many things that I was grateful for in there when I felt the call to do so, because some days were just garbage days and I didn't feel anything. And other days I would allow myself, because you go through that process, it's like really, really hard in some days, and some days it's a little lighter. And then at some point, sometimes if we are able to process through what we need to process through, it just starts getting lighter and not as heavy and not as dark, and then your awareness starts expanding, and then there's laughter in the world again. So, but sometimes, like back in the day when I was a kid and had to do it on one's own, like just with words and the mind, it was so easy. Well, not easy, it was still a chore, but one could do it. And I found through this last few years, I couldn't do it that way. Like my mind was just, mind, body, soul were all crushed. And I couldn't just pull oneself out anymore. So one figured, when good things happen, one should savor it. And I didn't know how to savor it. So I made this gratitude bowl again. Inside of it was sand. I had some crystals in there at the time. Like anytime I found a new crystal that I liked, plopped her in there. And it was like a month thing. So like I probably started in the middle of the month, but let's say I started at the beginning of the month. And so say that day that I just woke up and, had dinner with my neighbor, lunch with my neighbor, because my neighbor used to invite me for lunch quite a bit. And before things got too busy. And that was a beautiful time, and I love when we do that. So whenever that happens or had happened, I would write it down, put it in my gratitude jar. Or like if my kids were laughing and I was observing this and it made me feel good, I would write that down. Or if I found, $5 on the street, write that down. Or if I was blessed and lucky enough to be able to work with people that I like. So say you needed to go to the doctor, but you don't like going to the doctor, so you just ask that it you get nice care, like good care. Like, you just please make sure that I get good care and that kind service and nice people. And then that usually kind of works out. So if that happens, then I'll write that down. And sometimes you don't ask for it, it just happens, and you're just like, wow, that's even better, right? So write that down. Had good care today. Put it in the jar. Point being, by the end of the month, I was able to literally count my blessings if I wanted to, because sometimes there was few and sometimes there was many. And then the most beautiful part was being able to open up each one and read each blessing and just be able to relive that moment and that beautifulness, right? Finding acorn hats on a walk. Oh, that was one of the cutest things, going for a walk last year and finding the tops of an acorn, and I was like, this looks like a little hat. And I've seen them before, on TV or not out in the wild. So when I found one out in the wild, I was like, wow, this is freaking amazing. So yeah, I feel that is a way to help maybe kickstart and foster joy, that awareness of joy, or help through hard times, is to create a gratitude jar so you can focus on gratitude, focus on all the little things and all the big things and all the things in between. And that is my rant, rave, and thoughts today. Have a great day.